Welcome back, everybody, to Starting Six, a volleyball podcast with Haley and Liv. We are back with a bunch of week 3 action in college volleyball, and we have a ton to cover and a lot of opinions to state. So we're just going to kick it off and get started. So we're going to cover games starting from Monday, 9/11, and then we are going to go all the way up until yesterday, which was the 17th. Yes. So lots to talk about. Liv, really quickly, how are you? Good to see you.
Good. Yeah, we're just going, running with our heads cut off.
No, literally, Liv and I switched. So we've been doing this in our notes apps.
Yes.
And we decided after last week's that we needed to do something a little easier to read. So we're entering our Excel eras. So this is coming from, I don't know about you, but I don't ever use Excel in my career.
Oh.
So It's very basic Excel, but hopefully this makes us sound a little better.
Yeah, we actually know what we're talking about this time because last week sounded like we were amateurs, but that's fine.
We're learning. We're learning as we go. This is going to be better.
Yeah.
All right, let's kick it off, shall we?
Yes, please.
All right, so right off the bat on Monday the 11th, I had Texas taking on Rice at home in Texas. Mm-hmm. Texas came out with a clean sweep. Those scores were 25-16, 25-21, 25-15. Mm-hmm. So I had a couple standout players for each team. I'll just go through really quick. So obviously, gonna talk about her, I'm sure, a couple times, is Madison Skinner. She's a 6'2" junior outside for Texas. She came out of this game 3 sets, 19 kills on 36 attempts. So she hit a .417.
Wow.
That's insane in 3 sets.
Especially for an outside.
Yeah.
Like that's a hitting percentage you see for a middle.
Yeah. So kudos to her. And then behind her was Bella Bergmark. She's the 6'2" sophomore middle. And she came out with 7 kills on 9 attempts. So she was hitting a .778.
Yeah.
On the Rice side, we had Danielle. I don't know if that's Danielle. Courtley. She's a 6'1" sophomore outside. She had 10 kills and was hitting a .280. Lola Ford, she's a 5'11" junior right side. She had her season high hitting a .563 on 7 kills. And Cindy Chuanagua. Okay. That's my best guess at that. She's a 6-foot freshman outside. She came out with 9 kills. So a bit of a difference in some of those numbers. But what I really want to highlight is the overall statistical difference. Now, Rice is an unranked team. They're a team that frequents the NCAA tournament. Yeah. So not to be ruled out, but this game kind of showed the Texas way, in my opinion. So I just want to read these team statistics for you really quick. So Rice had 30 kills to Texas's.
Yes.
I'm going to switch those. Texas had 44 kills to Rice's 30. Texas hit a .283 and Rice hit a .140. Mm-hmm. Texas had 43 assists and Rice had 28.
Oh.
Texas had 7 aces, Rice had 2, and Texas had 8 blocks where Rice had 6. So those statistics alone reflect in the score quite a bit, but those numbers are what Texas should be looking like all the time. Again, a lesser opponent for sure in terms of the rankings and those kind of things, but huge numbers came out of that match for Texas with a big win at home.
Yeah, definitely shows their dominance back in the game.
So next up, this is now on September 12th. I had Florida State, FSU, was hosting Florida, number 3 Florida. Florida came out with the win, the Gators did. Those scores were 18-25, 25-22, 23-25, 25-17, 16-14. Mm-hmm. And I watched this game. It was insane. I joined in set 2. Yeah. Weird start time this game was. It was a little funky, a little early for our time. Yeah. But I joined, I watched. I was expecting it to be a little bit more of a Florida Gators show. It was not.
Yeah.
FSU not ranked. Probably one of the better matches I've watched this year. It was very back and forth. It was very even across the board. It looked a little bit. I mean, FSU's gym reminded me of like the pack. Like it was not what we've been watching with some of these like higher ranked teams, and they packed it. It was full. And it was a great match. So just a couple statistics I have for some standout players. For FSU, I had Corey Lewis. She's a 6'3" junior middle. She had 14 kills and hit a .571. And then I have Audrey Koenig. She's a 6'3" junior outside. She had 14 kills and hit a .382. I mean, those two numbers alone are insane. For the Gators, I had AC Fitzpatrick. She's a 5'11" sophomore outside, which is crazy. He had 22 kills and hit a .404. Kennedy Martin, the girl everybody's talking about with Florida, she's a 6'6" freshman right side. The girl is massive. She came out with 25 kills and hit a .383, which is crazy. And then Alexis Stuckey, the 6'2" sophomore setter, she had 50 assists, 3 kills, and was hitting a .222%. Just insane. I mean, when you're looking at those numbers, the Gators should have been out of there in 3 or 4.
I know. I'm looking at my notes. And I'm like, how did that go to 5 with Kennedy Martin having 25 kills, and then AC Fitzpatrick having 22 plus 50 assists compared to Florida State's 28? Like, it doesn't really make sense. And I don't have like the service errors on mine, but I don't know if that was part of it or what, and they just got on runs, or I don't know. I wasn't able to watch, so
I definitely feel like this game kind of has shown the importance of home court advantage. Like I feel like home court advantage is kind of something, it's like almost like an urban legend or something. Like people talk about it, but when you can see it with your own eyes, I mean, this crowd was yelling. It was so loud. The announcer said that it was electric in there. Like they were just fans, were rowdy. They wanted to be there. A couple of the notes that I have were the Gators didn't really find their groove. I mean, obviously put up big numbers, but they didn't really look like themselves until about set 4. So I think that played a part in it, whether that's defense, whether that's serving has been a huge issue for whatever reason in college volleyball this year. Like everyone just loves having a ton of service errors.
It's horrible.
So I had to know they found their groove in set 4 and then they kind of ran away with it. But what was exciting was in set 5, it was like challenges on challenges on challenges, keeping teams alive. And then ultimately the Gators offense was really what finished the job. The only other note I have on this, not volleyball related, but made me laugh out loud. So some of these announcers have been a little hit or miss. And the woman who did this game did just fine. However, there was a Seminoles fan dressed as the Mandalorian in the FSU colors. And she referred to him as an action figure she's never seen before. She's like, they showed him on TV and she's like, oh, look at someone dressed as an action figure. Like that's how she said it. And I actually was like, that is to me almost worse than you saying bump set spike. Like I can't. I was actually laughing out loud because I was just like, if you like, just don't say anything at all.
If you don't know what it is, don't make a comment about it because it's clearly something and you're offending a lot of people right now.
It hurt
AKA me and Haley.
It hurt me a little, especially because he looked, whoever it was, looked fantastic. It was awesome. And, I just had to toss that in there. I made the note. I took the time to make the note of that because I was like, no actual way. Do you not know? I mean, okay, maybe you don't know the exact terminology or whatever, but like, girl, get with the times. I mean, so anyway, that's all I had for my notes on that. Again, great match. It would have been huge for FSU to end up pulling out, but that Gator offense found their groove and was quite difficult to stop. Okay. Ooh, next. On September 12th, I have number 5 Stanford hosting number 4 Nebraska. This game, and I want to hear your thoughts too, but this game had so much anticipation for me. I could not wait to watch this first top 5 matchup. I was like, this is going to be a battle. This is going to be a test to see if Nebraska is really what everyone's making them out to be, or if they've just had an easy schedule. Like, this is so important. This is going to be great. First set, Nebraska pulls out 25-23. Okay. Love it. That's great numbers. Next set, Nebraska wins 25-16. And I was like, okay. And then Nebraska loses 19-25, comes back, wins 25-21.
Yeah.
Nebraska's offense looked absolutely unstoppable.
Yeah.
So I actually had my jaw on the floor because I couldn't believe these, like, Harper Murray being a freshman and entering a top 5 matchup, performing the way she did.
Yeah.
I was in absolute awe of Nebraska during this game.
Yeah.
Well,
you talked about it being so anticipating for you. I mean, clearly it was for a lot of people because it was the most watched regular season match recorded on ESPN so far, with 466,000 viewers. So a lot of people were really excited for this game, not just you. And I unfortunately had a volleyball game to coach, so thankfully they went to 4 because then I was able to watch the ending of it. But I was getting my watch kept pinging as I'm on the bench. You and Taylor texting about it. It was hilarious. But from what you guys said and what I saw, Nebraska looked like they're winning the Natty Champ. Like, they looked experienced. They looked like a veteran team. Yeah. They just have powerhouse hitters. Like, it's insane. And they also can defend. Like, Harper Murray, not only is she amazing in the front row, but she is unstoppable in the back row.
Yep.
And same with Mara Beeson. Like, it's not like it's just a front row and that's it. And then you get them in the back row and you're like biting your nails because you don't know what's going to happen. No, they pick up the balls. Not only that, do they have amazing middle blockers who are closing and getting to all those blocks. Becca Alec is insane in the middle. She is stopping everyone. Like, Kendall Kitt did not really find her groove in that game. I don't think Katie Baird, she got there, but I think they got it too late in the match, and Nebraska ran with it.
Yeah. I will say, like, I was, and I put this in the group chat when we were texting about it, like, I was expecting a little more fire out of Kendall Kipp a little bit, because of the numbers she's been putting up and the way that she's been playing. She's had an insane season, and for this to be kind of a high stakes game, I was thinking that she might play a little more like they were high stakes, and I don't feel like she quite did. She still had 12 kills and hit a .219, so I mean, not a horrible game at all. No. But when you're kind of comparing it to the other side, I mean, Merritt Beeson put up 15 kills and hit a .273%. Harper Murray, 12 kills on 24 attempts, and she hit a .417. Andy Jackson had 8 kills, hit a .462, and had 3 blocks. And Becca Alec, 7 kills, hit a .500, and had 8 blocks. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I actually couldn't believe it. And I'm so tired of these teams, like, making me look so bad, because it's really pissing me off, because I get on here and I'm like, I don't know if Nebraska can do it. And they made me look like an idiot. Yeah. I'm sure, well, I don't know if you saw it. When I was watching before the match started, obviously huge matchup, but there's a lot of history with these two programs. So they put up some stats I thought were interesting. So Nebraska has been in 16 NCAA semifinals, has won 5 national championships, their last one being in 2017. Stanford has been in 23 NCAA semifinals and has 9 national championships, their last one being in 2019. So not only was this a big game for the season, but this was a huge head-to-head for like some of the most decorated programs in the country. So while that number you read is insane, it's also like not surprising, because the history between these programs going head to head is just huge.
For sure. And one other thing, because you already kind of mentioned it, that I wanted to mention about this game, you mentioned apparently college players can't serve the ball anymore, and it's just like a trend that it's like fun to miss your serves. Nebraska had 17 service errors to Stanford's 2.
I didn't know that. Oh my God.
So I do think this would have been a clean sweep if they didn't have 17. That's a match, or that's a set. That is a set. You missing 17, that is that fourth set that you lost.
Wow. I didn't know those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I did have a note, lots of service errors on both sides.
Yeah.
But it must have just been mostly Nebraska.
Yeah.
A couple other things I just had in my notes. Nebraska's block, absolute game changer. Becca Alec came alive in the second set, and she was just a wall. Her like celebrations and everything were so much fun to watch. Really gave me like Devin Robinson vibes. I loved it. And then again in the second set, not only was Becca Alec coming alive defensively, but they simply could not stop Harper Murray or Merritt Beeson. Mm-hmm. And I do think that Stanford has a great libero. So, you know, for you to have a top tier program offensively and have a great libero in your defense position, to not be able to stop a right side and an outside is saying a lot about those two players. Sure. And then my last statistic that I had, this is the first time Nebraska has beat Stanford since 2008.
Yes, I did see that.
They held them to over .100 below their season average hitting percentage, and Nebraska hit a .333 on their side.
Wow.
So and I know Nebraska's number one for holding teams to like a point.
Their opponents.
Yeah, it's like a .038 or something average. Like it's insane. And that, I mean, this game just proved it. I was in absolute awe of them this game.
For sure.
Okay, so now we move on to the 13th. I have number 21 Kentucky hosting number 2 Louisville.
Yep.
This was another like clean sweep. Not too much to say. I will say for Kentucky, Rutherford is her last name. She's a 6 foot. Reagan. I have R. I don't know why. It's just R. She's the 6 foot sophomore outside. She had 16 kills on 24 attempts and hit a .583%. Yeah. The next best hitter had 7 kills.
Yeah.
You're just not going to win with those numbers.
No.
However, I will say on the flip side, I don't think Louisville put up great numbers either.
No, they didn't.
Anna DeBeer, the 6 foot sophomore, she's a senior outside. She only had 9 kills.
Yeah. She only hit a .174%. Yeah. Compared to Charity Looper, the other junior outside, she had 13 kills, hitting a .385.
Can I just say, I'm kind of obsessed with her.
I love her.
I really enjoy it.
I feel kind of came out of nowhere. I don't really remember her. No, she transferred. She was a transfer. I don't know where, but that's why I don't remember her on Louisville, because she transferred.
Charity Looper?
Yeah.
Let me find your answer for you.
But this was Louisville did set their attendance record during this match. I don't have the number for what it was, but
I think I do. She transferred from UCLA.
That's what it was.
So Louisville set their volleyball program attendance record with 12,760 fans. Yeah. So here's what I want to talk about. Do you have anything else that you want to note for this game? Okay. Here's my conversation starter, because we're going to talk about Louisville again.
Yeah.
What I want I know we've talked about this before, but I want your opinion on it, because when I'm watching Louisville, I'm thinking like this team could easily be the number 1 team in the nation. Like when you're actually watching them play, like if you're putting their record aside, if you're putting, whatever, when you're watching them play, you're like, this team could easily be the number 1 team in the nation, like easily. Yeah. And I feel that way with Nebraska as well. But with Louisville, like I'm struggling because I feel like they just have too easy of a regular season schedule, and it's not preparing them for the NCAA tournament.
Agreed.
I say that with a grain of salt, because obviously they were in the national championship last year. Totally get that. They got swept. Yeah. Like at this point in time, like obviously Louisville went on to play Stanford, and we'll get there. But I just don't feel like Louisville was setting themselves up for a really strong offseason, because we know their conference they're going to dominate. So I just was kind of expecting a little bit more from their non-conference schedule. And I kind of lean towards the fact that I don't know if they challenge themselves enough outside of their conference to really prepare for the NCAA tournament.
No, I agree. I think they have a lot of grit and a lot of like, they're just scrappy because of that. So they don't have their big, like they don't set themselves to have those big attacks because they're not necessarily used to the speed that some top 5 teams can produce, like in the Big Ten. I mean, Nebraska, it's hard to pick up one of Merritt Beeson's back row attacks, let alone her front row attacks. And if you're not seeing that prior to conference or even the national championship, how are you going to prepare yourself? If you see it at the end of your season, you have nothing to compare it to. And you can't practice it. You can do as much as you can in practice to get yourself prepared, but until you see it on the court, you don't know what to expect. Yeah. And I agree. I think they should be trying to face more top-ranked teams during non-conference because they are always top in their conference or have been the past few years. Right. So when you're always winning your conference, you're kind of like, you're plateauing yourself because you're here, you keep winning, great. But in conference, in non-conference, you're still right here. So it's not like you're getting any better. I mean, you play maybe 2 top-ranked teams, maybe not even top-ranked. Like Kentucky was number 21. I mean, that's still top 25, but they haven't been that great the past few years. So you're not challenging as much. You're not challenging yourself as much as I think you can, but I also don't know what goes into scheduling and how that works because obviously other top ranked teams or unranked teams want to be playing those teams to prepare themselves. So I don't know how much control they have in that and what's NCAA and things like that. But I don't think Louisville is going to be able to become a top tier, like winning the national championship until they can see more of that tougher competition more consistently throughout the season. I
just feel like where Louisville's at on their rankings and where they've been coming out of a national championship, like I just feel like they should have had the offseason that Florida had. Like, I just feel like and I totally agree with you. I don't know the ins and outs of how all of that works. I just was rather unimpressed with the competition that Louisville was going head to head with, heading into a conference that they're probably going to dominate. Yeah. And I get it. Not every conference can be the Big Ten where you're playing, like where you have big like matchups with top 5 teams because a lot of those teams are in the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. I get that. I like watching Louisville and I think that they have the keys, but I mean, you have an outside hitter that's 6 foot tall and your other one is 5'9". Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't have a huge front row. Yeah. So I just would have been interested to see them go up against a little bit of harder competition in the off season. But again, like you said, we don't know how that works. I'm just stating, what I wish I could have seen. But I'm excited to continue to watch them. Mm-hmm. Okay, so next I have Marquette hosting Wisconsin at Pfizer Forum. Mm-hmm. So Wisconsin. So I was at this game, and Wisconsin was unimpressive to say the least. I wasn't overjoyed. I made a TikTok about it, about my I did like a come with me kind of TikTok. So if you haven't looked at it, go look at it. StartingSixPod on TikTok. I got 2 things to say. One, I'm not mad that it went to 4 sets because I got a little bit more volleyball because I was there. Obviously, I made the trip. But this game had my mom in a panic state. So like I said, go watch the TikTok. You'll be able to see. But I have videos of her. And she's like, her legs are bouncing. She's like praying. I have videos of her and she's just like, what's going on? Like, no. And she's going like this. It was comedy. This game was going to give my mother a heart attack. So Wisconsin, I don't appreciate that. So this was the first volleyball game ever held at Pfizer Forum in Milwaukee. It was an awesome environment. It was technically a Marquette home game. Okay. But it didn't really look like it.
It was a sea of red.
Yeah. So they had students all around the like lower bowl, like on the near the court. Yeah. And that was blue and yellow. And then they went up a little bit into one section. The rest of Pfizer Forum was red. Like red. Again, in the TikTok I posted, you can see it.
Yeah.
Red. And I met Taylor and Ben at the Mecca before, and all Badger fans. I think we counted like 4 or 5 Marquette fans total.
Wow.
So it really, in my opinion, was a Badger home game, but I don't think it was the same like energy that there would be in the field house. Yeah. So I can understand that. So a couple notes I had just looking back. Oh, I guess I could read you the scores first. So set 1, Wisconsin pulled out 28-26. Set 2, they lost 20-25. Set 3, they won 26-24. And then they decided to play some volleyball, and they won 25-18.
Yeah.
So some of the notes I have. Ended up being a much better match than I anticipated. I'm going to be honest. Me and my mom were a little cocky going in there. We arrived in Milwaukee on a Wednesday. Like, it'll be a clean sweep. Be out of there. No. That didn't happen. I owe Marquette a public apology because I said last week I don't understand why Marquette is still in the top. I understand it now. I really do. I wouldn't say that they're a big offensive threat, but defensively, this team was fantastic. Wisconsin struggled in serve receive.
Yeah.
And I mean struggled. And when their serve receive's not on, they can't do anything.
No.
Their offense was terrible.
It looked like my freshman team trying to serve receive. Absolutely painful to watch.
Marquette's defense was off the charts. They were scrappy, picking everything up. I mean, the ball looked like it was down. It wasn't. It was awesome. I mean, as a Wisconsin fan, not awesome. As a volleyball fan, I love to see it. And again, I'm really sorry, Marquette. In better news, the NCAA indoor regular season attendance record was set. There was 17,037 of us. And this was also the highest attended women's sporting event in the state of Wisconsin ever. So shout out to 2 Wisconsin teams holding that record, while 2 Nebraska teams hold the outdoor record. And then just shout out to a couple of our favorite Badgers. Izzy Ashburn, she broke the record at UW for career aces with 167. And Sarah Franklin hit her 1,000 kills. So those were my notes. It was a lot of fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. Pfizer Forum is probably one of the prettiest facilities ever. But the last thing I want to know, I have some stats here I can run through quickly. Aubrey Hamilton was the 6'2" senior outside for Marquette. She was running this game. I mean, running it. She had 16 kills. The next highest was 8. She hit a .148%. She had 8 digs and 4 blocks. I mean, she was a monster. And the last thing I want to say is Marquette held Devin Robinson to a 0.0 hitting percentage. That is unheard. That's hard to do. I highly doubt she's ever had a 0.0 hitting percentage.
Yeah, probably not.
I mean, she could not do anything around Marquette's defense. I've never seen anything like it before.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too I want to mention, and I'm assuming you watched it.
Yeah, I did.
Was from the Badgers, freshman Sage Damrow. She's 5'8", freshman libero from Howards Grove, Wisconsin. She was fantastic.
She made her college debut.
She was great. I loved her energy. I thought she was a great DS. And what I really loved is that when she was in, she took second balls if the setter took the first one, and Julia didn't. So I was a big fan of that.
Yeah.
But overall, not content with the Badgers after that one. I would love to be able to go to the field house and see them perform quite a bit better. But, happy to be there, happy to be a part of the record. I went to the game for free, so, can't complain too much. But just, not the Badgers we know and love.
Yeah. I also, when I started watching it, I had called my mom, and she also was not a fan of what the Badgers were doing because it was horrendous. Like, it was for them to be the top ranked team. That's like it's kind of putting disgrace to that number 1. Like, you did not deserve that.
It was not a number 1 performance. No.
It was bad. Serve receive, horrible. Again, like my freshman team, not getting a ball up.
No.
Not to mention 18 service errors by the Badgers. 2 Marquettes, 2.
Yeah,
Again,
there was a lot of
number 1 ranked team. and you have 18 service errors in a 4-set match.
And my girl Temi Thomas Aguilera, her jump serve was not getting it, getting it done.
No,
getting it. I think I don't know what it was. Like I know I'm sure the students had a little bit of an effect on it. Like they were, not that that's any different than any other game, but it was loud in there with those Marquette students.
Yeah.
And then when the Badgers obviously took control of set 4, and they were all leaving, you could the energy kind of shifted to being more Badger-esque.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, my notes is just Marquette, I thought played really well. Shout out to Aubrey Hamilton. I played her in high school when she would have been a freshman or so. She also played at Milwaukee Sting, so shout out to her. I've seen her play since she was very young, and she plays the exact same, lights out. But they wanted it, and you could see it. And Wisconsin they thought it was going to be a clean sweep too.
Yeah,
and
that's what I was going to tell
you. You cannot think it's going to be an easy match in any game. We've seen how many upsets so far. You cannot go into a game thinking you're going to sweep a team.
No, and you and I have talked about this too, because there's times like that when you're playing, even if it was in club or it was in college or whatever, you go into a match and you're like, God, this team sucks. And you somehow, I don't know if it's a mental thing or what, but you just naturally play down.
Yep.
And I think we've seen that with other teams this year too, but this one was
yeah. So thankfully they pulled out the win, but not a good look for Wisconsin at all.
No, a lot of work that needs to be done there. And we mean that as loving fans, but for real. Okay. Last game on the 13th I have is number 18 Baylor hosting number 11 Washington State, and Washington State just giving the beat down and taking the dub.
Yep.
So those scores were Washington State dropped the first set 19-25, came back and won 25-23, 25-18, 25-21.
Yeah.
I have not got to watch Washington State this year, but I need to.
I know.
Some statistics I have that I'd like to talk about as a team. Yeah. So Washington State, this is their second straight win over a ranked team. Pretty big.
Yeah.
Washington State is 9-1. Baylor's 4-4, which I was kind of surprised to see. However, I did a little digging because I was like, that's kind of weird. So apparently Washington State is heavily led by upperclassmen on the court, heavily juniors, seniors. And I think they mentioned one underclassman was subbed in at some point for what, I don't know. Heavily led by upperclassmen. Baylor is very, very young this year. Gotcha. Their website, this is actually on Baylor's website that they recorded, they said that the age difference was very apparent during this match. So honestly, it happens. Good for Washington State for having a program where you can have so many upperclassmen on the court. And Baylor it's just one of those years. That's what happens. On paper, Baylor looked stronger. However, in my personal opinion, Washington State's 11 blocks to Baylor's 8 and 65 digs to Baylor's 62 might have had a lot to do with the overall win. So defensively, it just feels like Washington State came out on top. And naturally, I didn't watch this game, but I have to assume that if age was so apparent during this match, that Washington State was probably making better choices offensively, throwing in smarter shots, mixing up their shots. Being able to spread the wealth across the net is a big one in age, and Baylor was probably just not. And then the other thing I thought was kind of something to note, Washington State only had 19 offensive errors and Baylor had 32. Washington State hit a .219% and Baylor hit a .168. So honestly, looks a little like it should have been in Washington State's side. However, Baylor's Kendall Stowers, she's a 5'11 freshman outside, put up 20 kills and 11 digs. And their setter, Avery Carlson, 5'11 sophomore, 51 assists.
Wow.
So pretty big numbers.
Yeah.
Washington State's leader was Aman Isanovic. She's a 6'1 fifth-year outside. She had 16 kills. So, what are you going to do?
Yeah, but I mean, props to Kendall Stowers being a freshman. She's put up big numbers this whole time.
Yeah,
so,
she's in every highlight. Yeah. Yes, it's one of those things like you see it all the time when you have a younger team, and I think a lot of it is offensively. You can just read the court better. These girls are juniors and seniors, so they played together for years. So just those things add up. But I don't think that Baylor is necessarily out of the running. I just don't think this is going to necessarily be like their big year, but this is also setting them up for a really successful future. So keep going, Baylor. Moving into the 14th.
Okay.
And I'm going to try not to go on a ramble with this, but number 6 Texas pulls out the win at home over number 19 Ohio State. Texas won 25-27, 25-13. Oh, Texas lost 25-27. Anytime it starts with a 25, I get thrown off. Lost the first set 25-27, came back and won 25-13, 25-14, 25-23.
Yeah.
Madison Skinner puts up 24 kills, 5 errors on 50 attempts, hitting a .380.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Next best hitter
was 11.
11. Yikes.
Yeah.
And Ohio State had 2 hitters hitting zeros and 1 hitting negative. Emily Londot, the 6'3" senior, outside had 19 kills, 10 errors on 47 attempts, which put her at a .191. She had 10 digs. Riley Rader, the 6'2" senior middle, had 9 kills, 0 errors on 24 attempts, hitting a .375.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised at this game at all. Ohio State is struggling, and they're just relying so much on Emily Londot that while she's still putting up huge numbers and good for her, that's going to be the easiest thing to scout ever. So, just not overly impressed.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State hit a .149% hitting percent as a team. Texas hit a .321 hitting percent.
Oh my God.
So it's a very big difference. And I think with Texas, you can see more of the depth because although Maddie Skinner had 24 kills, they spread it out a little bit more than Ohio State. Like you said, they're relying very heavily on Emily Londot and Riley Rader. And everyone knows that.
And Texas does the same thing. Like they rely on their 2 outsides very heavily, and which I'm going to talk about in a little bit here. But with that being said, their outsides can get the job done a little bit better than just one outside can. Yeah. So, then they were going up against a team, like I said, that does the same thing. It just, the outcome's quite different when you can't do anything else.
Yeah.
So just not impressed with Ohio State.
No, they also are young. I mean, their libero is a freshman. Their other outside is a freshman. Their setter is a freshman.
Which is the coach's fault. This is the risk she took.
Exactly. And so really their only veterans are Riley Rader and Emily Londot. And you can't have your 2 main hitters be your only veterans on the court. You can't have your libero and your freshman be freshmen and did I say that right? Your libero and your setter be freshmen. Yeah. And you can't expect to necessarily be putting out great numbers. That's the thing.
No.
It's just not really going to happen because you don't have that experience, and that's okay. They're getting the experience now, but you're going to have to take that fall this year and probably next year and then regroup from there.
Yeah, I'm not surprised with this outcome. And I wouldn't be overly concerned that Texas dropped the first set, 25-27. I mean, that could be for anything. To come back and win 25-13 and 25-14 is saying all it needs to. So, Ohio State.
Maybe next year.
Yeah, or in a couple. We don't know. Okay, the other game I had that I wanted to note was number 8 Pitt hosted number 7 Oregon, and Oregon came out with a big win in 5. These scores were super close. So set 1, Oregon came out 26-24, won set 2 25-17, and then dropped to 18-25, 20-25, came back and won 15-13.
Yeah.
These are 2 teams, again, I have yet to watch. Big bummer for that. But, I'm a champion for Pitt, and I have been. something about Oregon winning this game, like I like it.
Yeah.
I'm digging this kind of Oregon, like kind of coasting, like under the radar. It's kind of exciting, and I like the way this game panned out.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of interesting. Like I didn't realize until I was looking at this game, Oregon's 8-1.
Yeah.
Like who would? I don't know. Like it just doesn't.
So Oregon's
It was very
8-1, and Washington State's 9-1, and these are two teams that at this time next year will be in the Big Ten. It's kind of big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like to see it.
Yeah, I mean, truly, like statistically, I think this game could have gone either way. Nothing in the stats stood out to me to believe that Pitt couldn't have come back and win. It probably just came down to errors. And really who wanted it more. And like I said, not mad at this.
No,
I kind of like it.
It was a very evenly matched game, or evenly matched match. Yeah. Oregon hit a .227 hitting percent, and Pitt hit a .220 hitting percentage. So like even across the board, there was 22 tied scores and 11 lead changes throughout the match.
That's crazy.
So
I like it. I mean, for a number 7 and a number 8 game, that's probably what you would expect. I like it.
Yeah.
The next game, I don't like so much. Moving into the 15th, number 10 Georgia Tech hosts Georgia and loses.
I know. In 4. I know. I was so bummed.
We get on here and we're like, oh, Georgia Tech. Oh, this, oh, that, oh, these suck, they suck. And then we turn on the game and we're like, what the fuck? Okay, those numbers for you, those scores. So Georgia lost the first set 21-25, came back in one set 2, 28-26, and then continued to win 25-21, 25-21. So massive upset, huge. Georgia Tech was killing it. So like I have a note. The teams that we talk about / hype up and get excited about end up failing us.
So we need to stop talking about all the good
really
teams.
Sorry that we're jinxing your whole season. Okay, so Georgia, who is 8-2 now, secured their 5th straight victory and ended Georgia Tech, who is now 7-1's undefeated season. Yeah. This is also Georgia's first win against a top 10 opponent since 2020, and their first win against Georgia Tech since 2014.
Wow.
Yeah, so almost a decade. Georgia had their season best with 15 blocks. However, Georgia Tech drew a program record crowd with 5,303 in the second ever match in the McCamish Pavilion.
Nice.
I didn't get to watch this game, but from what I read, Georgia Tech came out hot, probably feeding off that huge crowd, but they just let Georgia Tech fight back too often, and this is going to really knock them down.
Yeah.
Just a tough, and you know it's tough that it's a Georgia battle.
Yeah.
I think they made it worse. Like that's probably a rivalry. But again, another record set, so we love to see that.
For sure.
Georgia also had 2 girls with double doubles, couple career highs for some of those girls, and Georgia Tech also had 2 girls with double doubles. So you could probably tell that they're putting up a fight. Just a bummer to see, kind of, good for Georgia, but Georgia Tech, like we were rooting for you.
Yeah, we still are. We still are.
But like, come on. Okay, so continuing to truck forward here. Just something to note, don't have a ton of numbers, but Penn State hosted the Penn State Classic. They swept UMBC and went to 4 with Staten Hall, 2 unranked teams I've never heard of. So just want to note there, Penn State had a good weekend. Good for you, Penn State. Also on the 15th, so Purdue hosted the Boilermaker Challenge last weekend. Number 17 Purdue falls to unranked USC.
Yeah.
In 4.
Purdue, I watched it, at least the last 3 sets of it. I don't think we got on for the first set. I am not impressed with Purdue, nor am I impressed with Eva Hudson.
Okay, so let me ask you
I said it. I said it, everyone. Hot take. I am not impressed with Eva Hudson this year.
So who are you least impressed with, Purdue or Ohio State? Like, who's really letting you down? It has to be Purdue, right?
Yeah, Purdue. See, like Ohio State, I feel like there's more of a reasoning behind it because they lost their entire starting lineup basically, and it's and it's all freshmen except for two.
Okay, fair.
So, like, that's more understandable. But now you like Purdue, you have the reigning Big Ten freshman of the year, and I don't even think she's led the team in kills. Maybe one match or two, but like she's not producing really at all.
No.
And I know you have some new players in, but you like
I don't know. Her numbers ain't looking.
No.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like this is a little bit of a younger lineup than we've seen from Purdue in the past. Those scores were pretty insane. So USC took the first set 30-28.
Yeah.
Lost 15-25. And then came back to win 25-23, 25-23.
Yeah.
So not like it's not like they were smoking Purdue.
No.
But when you're losing against unranked teams, you have to ask what's going on. Yeah. I'll tell you. USC's Skylar Fields put up 27 kills, 12 digs, and 3 blocks.
She was unstoppable.
Oh,
she ran the
my
show.
God. That is crazy.
Yeah.
And that's compared. Chloe and Eva had 17 kills each.
Yep.
Not bad numbers by any means, but just not 27.
But then USC's next leader in kills is 18 kills. Their freshman outside hitter having a
5'10",
a .262 hitting percentage with 12 digs. Then their next is Tyra Arrail, 15 kills, hitting a .778 hitting percent. She is a redshirt sophomore middle blocker.
What? Oh my God.
So you have 3 hitters throwing out those numbers, and Purdue, you only have your 2 outsides.
Again, like that's just not going to work.
No. And like I'm really impressed with Chloe Chacoin, who's the freshman outside hitter, having 17 kills. She's playing like Eva did last year.
Yeah.
Eva's kind of taken the back seat. I feel like she's not. Last year, I feel like she was just. She wasn't afraid to rip a kill. She wasn't afraid to rip out the ball and just see what happens. This year, it looks like she's more afraid and trying to be more calculated. But in doing so, then she's throwing softer shots that aren't as lethal, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Purdue's libero had 22 digs, but their service receive wasn't too hot. I just think USC just came out with fires. I mean, you couldn't stop Skylar Fields. They had a really hard time with their block to stop her and their other big swings.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think again, like Purdue's age just kind of shows in times like this. I mean, some of the team stats too, USC just looked like they ran the game. They led 69 kills, hitting a .333% to Purdue's 55 kills, hitting a 300. USC had 64 assists to 50 and 61 digs to 58. I mean, that kind of says it all right there. And I will say too, like Purdue losing to an unranked team, that's going to set them back. However, it is fun to see teams like Georgia and now USC and at the beginning of the year, Long Beach, like trying to fight for a ranking, like trying to fight to show we deserve to be here. And this is this was a tournament, which I feel like sometimes can get a little shaky with taking it super seriously, but USC came to play and came out with a big, big win.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have number 18 Baylor hosted number 19 Ohio State. Baylor came out with the win. It looked like a good game. So those scores were Baylor 25-22, 25-19, dropped 18-25, 23-25, won 15-8. I think this could have gone either way.
Yeah.
the battle of the young players. I mean, for Baylor, their top hitters were freshman outside Kendall Stowers with 16, junior outside Elise McGee with 19 kills, Manuela Bibinbi.
Yeah.
She's a 6'3" junior middle. She had 12 kills, and then their sophomore setter had 48 assists. So I mean, I also want to say that Manuela had hit a .647%.
Yeah.
So I mean, when you're looking at that compared to Ohio State, obviously Emily Londa is a senior, but Lauren Murphy was the next in kills with 11, and she's a freshman, and their setter is also a freshman. So, you know, it was a battle of the youngsters. Yeah. I just don't think they're relying on Emily Londa this much is going to bring them success in conference at all. And like I said earlier, Baylor, their age is definitely a factor, but I think in the postseason they could be a fun team to watch, just like a scrappy team, and also like what's this future going to look like for them?
For sure. Again, Baylor's spreading it out for more of their hitters to have.
Yeah.
Being double digits for kills. Ohio State's not. Emily Londa has 26 kills. Great, good for her. She cannot be the sole attacker for Ohio State. Everyone already knows, especially come Big Ten conference time, which is this week. They already know she's their go-to. She has been in the past. They know how to block her. They know where she's coming from. It's not going to be hard to stop her.
No.
Unfortunately, you need your other hitters. They're freshmen, they're middles. They need everyone to step up. But I don't think necessarily their freshman setter is giving them the chance. I could be wrong, but you just can't win on a one-man show. That's just not how
and you're risking a lot relying on her so much. She is a senior. It's probably putting a lot of wear and tear on her body. Probably difficult to deal with mentally. So, you know, little scary to do that from a physical and a mental health wise. Yeah. So, you know, just Ohio State being Ohio State. All right, last game on the 15th. Whew. You know, we hyped them up at the beginning, but number six, Texas.
Really solidified my feelings.
Number 11 Washington State, losing at home again. Looked like a great game though. So Texas dropped, Washington State dropped set one, 25-25, 21-25, excuse me, not 25-25, that would make sense. 21-25, came back and won 25-22, 25-22, 25-22. Washington State, I got to watch this team.
They dominated.
Yeah, and you know, like we said earlier, Madison Skinner only puts up 14 kills this game. And well, we say only, you know, with a grain of salt. Yeah. Not her usual numbers. I mean, 24 the last one, 14 now. Jenna had 16, Bella had 7. Just not a great performance from Texas.
Yeah. I mean, Texas threw up some big kill numbers, but their hitting percentage was all of them besides Maddie Skinner. So Asia O'Neal, Jenna Wennis, they were in the 100 hitting percentage. Washington State, .235 hitting percentage, .391 hitting percentage, .259 hitting percentage, 400. Like overall, it was still lower, but Washington State hit a .226 hitting percentage as a team compared to .166.
Yeah, and I mean they held Texas to a negative .025 in the second set while hitting a .128. So that's pretty big.
That's everything.
But I think like we've been talking about, it was very clear that Washington State, which again could be because of their age, was spreading the wealth across the net because their top hitters were their fifth year outside, their fifth year middle, their junior right side, and then their other fifth year outside. I mean, so they're spreading the wealth, and their setter had 5 kills and 1 error. So they're just, I mean, she's got to be just running them across the net versus Texas, who their top hitters were their 2 outsides and their 1 middle. So it makes a difference. It really does.
It does. And it also looks like Washington State's blocking was a little bit better than Texas's, which helped keep them at that lower hitting percentage, which is huge. I mean, if your offense can't produce, you don't have a team.
Right. Just another big loss for Texas at home.
Yeah. Down the toilet, Texas goes.
let's get into the nitty gritty of yesterday.
Okay.
This was a big day.
Hold on. Wait. Can I just mention on Saturday, number 9 Minnesota lost to number 14 Creighton in 5. Just wanted to put that out there. Creighton had 77 digs.
Oh my God. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Oh
just
man.
Throw that out there. I mean, also just wanted to mention, again, my hot take from a few podcasts ago, Taylor Landfair had 9 kills, hitting a .054 hitting percentage. Their other outside, McKenna Wooker, had 7 kills, hitting a negative .026. Their right side, their senior right side, had 20 kills. Lydia Grote, she had 20 kills, so she ran the show, hitting a .474 hitting percentage, had 2 aces, 2 blocks, and 13 digs. So she came alive, but the rest of them also down the shitter.
Wow. Taylor girl.
Yeah. I'm not really sure what's going on with Minnesota, but just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I hear you, sister.
Mm-hmm.
Tough.
Yeah.
All right, nitty gritty yesterday.
Yes.
Very anticipated day for us volleyball fans. Number 2, Louisville took on number Stanford at home. Came out, Stanford left Louisville with a dub. They left the KFC Yum Center with a dub.
They did.
This was a fantastic game.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely fantastic. I watched this whole game. Couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah.
I actually watched this over the next match we're going to talk about. Could not get enough of this match. Loved every second of it. So let me read you these scores. So Stanford dropped the first 2 sets, 22-25, 20-25. Came back in 1 set 3, 25-14. 1 set 4, 25-20, and finished 15-12. They ran with the 5th set, I might add. That score is closer than it should have been.
Yeah.
Just a couple notes. I know Louisville lost. However, I'm convinced that anything Anna DeBeer touches turns to gold. This girl can do nothing wrong. I mean, I'm so overly impressed with her.
I know.
I just think she's fantastic for her size, for her injury. I love her. I think she's fantastic. Other thing I want to mention though, for Louisville, when we talk about liberos, we tend to talk about, Lexi Rodriguez's of college volleyball. We need to be talking more about Louisville's libero.
Agreed. I love her.
5'9" junior Elena Scott. Oh my God. So they showed like a mini highlight reel of her at one point during the game, but she played balls to the walls this game. Yeah. She's fantastic. And, while we sit here and we're like Louisville's offense, here's my next note. Louisville's offense alone, in my opinion, after watching Wisconsin versus Marquette, should and probably will make them the number 1 team in the country at one point. Louisville's offense is insane. They spread the wealth, as we were talking about with Washington State.
Yeah.
However, the nail in the coffin for them was Stanford's defense was a winning factor. They rallied well over 10 blocks in the last 2 sets alone. They were stopping everything. Mm-hmm. This was the Stanford I was expecting against Nebraska. A little bit more. Katie Baird put up 23 kills. Kendall Kipp had 18 kills. And Ella Rubin, the 6'1" sophomore outside, had 16 kills. Katie Baird and Kendall Kipp both hit 2.79, and Ella Rubin hit a .481. And all 3 of them had digs. Ella Rubin had 14 digs. Kendall Kipp 8, Katie Baird 7. I also want to say I'm very impressed with Stanford's setter, Cami Miner. She's a 6-foot junior. 4 kills, 1 error on 8 attempts, so she had hit a .375. She had 58 assists and 9 digs. Just very impressed with her. I'm a big fan. I think she shows composure when she's running the offense. I was a big fan of her.
For sure.
Anna DeBeer looked a little more like herself. 17 kills, 9 errors, 59 attempts.
Wow.
Quite a bit for her. Charity Looper, as we mentioned earlier, 5'9" junior. Outside, 12 kills, 3 errors, 42 attempts. And then one name we haven't mentioned yet, I'm going to hopefully say this right, is Frakren Kong.
Oh, PK?
PK.
Yeah. PK.
6'4" senior middle, 10 kills, 2 errors, 17 attempts, had a 0.71%.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah, she did. She played very well.
Had a very good game.
Yeah.
This was a great match. This is what we want.
It was fun to watch. It was fun to watch.
I'm happy Stanford came out with a W. It gave me a little less nerves going into the Florida-Wisconsin game. But I have to say, this is what we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
What does Louisville look like when they're playing a better team?
Mm-hmm. And I think it was very comparable. Obviously, they went to 5. I just think Stanford had a little bit more composure and a little bit more control.
And Stanford spreads the wealth a little bit better. They don't rely heavily on just Kendall Kipp. They don't rely heavily on just Charity Looper, not Charity Looper, that's Louisville. They don't rely just heavily on Katie Baird, So it's just kind of nice. Like, it shows a difference. Like we've been talking about, when you're spreading the wealth across the net, your defense has to work harder. Your middles have to work harder. You have to read quicker. It's tougher than just relying on your outsides like Anna DeVere and Charity Looper. So something to think about, Louisville. I'm giving you a tip.
You should listen.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into it.
Are we going to talk about
it? This game gave me a
literal
heart attack.
I was about to throw things. I was stress eating beyond stress eating. Let me tell you, I had a giant bag of popcorn sitting in my lap and I almost finished it.
Yeah. I had 2 apple cider donuts because
this makes me Wisconsin, I love you, but I hate you also.
Literally
because get your shit together, please.
Okay, for someone who doesn't know,
number 1 spot. Get out. If you're not going to, just go.
Okay, for someone who doesn't know what we're talking about, yesterday, number 3 Florida, the Florida Gators hosted number 1 Wisconsin, and the first 2 sets of this match were probably some of the worst volleyball I've ever seen in my life from Wisconsin, and I was like, we're gonna get swept, in Florida, and we're gonna be humiliated going into conference. That didn't happen.
Thankfully.
However, it wasn't pretty. Okay, so those scores were Wisconsin dropped the first 2 sets 15-25. Terrible. 22-25. Came back and won 25-21, 25-22, 15-13. All right, let me get to my notes here because I have a lot to say. Wisconsin's serve receive is fucking killing them. I
cannot stand it. And I have opinions on why that is.
Okay, let's get into this a little bit before we start bouncing around because we have a lot to say. I have a lot to say about Florida as well. But let's start with Wisconsin serve receive. Their serve receive is keeping hitters like Devin Robinson out of the offense, and our outsides are hitting at the 10-foot line, which even for Sarah Franklin, who's had an incredible year and has so many off shots in the books, and for Temi Thomas-Aguilera, who's probably one of the best offensive players in the Big Ten, they can't perform.
No.
And they can't hit around a big block without giving them a lob.
Yeah.
So let me hear what you have to say about this because I'm just upset. I'm upset with the serve receive. It shouldn't look like this.
I agree. And I think it comes down.
Oh my God. I agree.
Okay, so as far as coming from my experience, so obviously I was a 6 rotation outside hitter, so I know having to serve receive and then go and hit. I also was a libero in club and at college, so I also know the pressure of being a libero and serve receiving. Regardless, you have to get the ball up, okay? And Kelly Sheffield needs to put Gigi back in as libero.
Ooh, hot take.
I have a lot of them because I don't think, last year she was a freshman, this year Gigi's a sophomore. She has more experience of what the serves and the caliber of the college game is here in the States. Same with Yulia. She knows now, but she also wasn't solely a libero for other 2-3 years. So she didn't need to focus solely on serve receive. She could kind of shank the ball and then be ready to hit, And I don't think she's at that transition phase yet where she is honed in on being a libero. And it's hard And so I think that's why her service, I'm not impressed with her serve receive. Yes, she does well at times, but she's also way too inconsistent with it. And that is killing the Badgers.
Yeah.
And so I think Gigi is more consistent because she's playing in that spot. That's all she's really had to do as a libero. That is your number one focus.
Yeah. Like, so I'm here with you on Julia's not cutting it for me. And I wouldn't say it's necessarily her fault. I don't get it. I don't understand the switcheroony. However, I'm not sold. I don't know who else would do it, but I'm not sold on Gigi in that spot.
I was actually just going to say that. After I said that, I was like, well, maybe she's not the right person. Maybe I don't know who would else, be, though. But I don't think it should be Julia.
I'm not sold. Yeah. I know for a fact. I know for a fact Julia's not doing it for me.
Agreed. Okay.
I'm not sold on Gigi. I don't know. I don't know who else would do it. I don't know. Yeah. But she hasn't been overly impressing me this year.
That's fair.
So Kelly Sheffield, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
All right. So that's how we feel about that.
Get that out of the way.
Yeah. Moving on. We'd be remiss not to say something. Our thoughts, prayers, sending good vibes to Alexis Stuckey. She landed horribly wrong. No one's foot was under her. She just came down. She was kind of leaning backwards and came down. Landed horribly wrong. Liv was quick in that group chat to say the medical staff were clearly performing the ACL tear test. She was assisted off the court and taken to the training room, and she came out on crutches before the game was over.
Disclosure, I'm only saying that because I had once torn my ACL, so I know what it looks like when they do the test and they do the little pull knee thingy. Yeah. So that's why I said that. Obviously, I'm not a medical doctor or anything medical.
She did come out in the big brace, though.
Yes.
That looked like it was a knee for sure.
Correct. It definitely was a knee, whether it's a ACL tear. I personally think it did. That was a nasty fall.
Oh my God, I couldn't watch the
Very similar to how my knee had looked when I had fallen. So that's my just experience and opinion from that. She did have an MRI for it today. I'm sure leading up, we will, in the coming few days, we'll have an update on that. But also, Coach Mary did say that it was not looking good. I saw in a press release that she was not very hopeful. And I think there was also a comment made about everyone else when they saw her come out in crutches and a brace. The whole team knew that she wasn't coming back in and knew that she wouldn't be playing the rest of the year.
No, her reaction was immediately, as soon as she came down, immediately something was wrong. You could see how much pain she was in. So, she is a sophomore, so she has some time left, but the Gators were off to such a hot start that it's unfortunate to see her go down. She's definitely very clearly the heart and soul of their offense. And so this was really unfortunate. I really didn't want to see I never want anything like this to happen, but I really didn't want to see it happen against the Badgers because I don't know if this outcome would have been the same.
I agree. But I just want to applaud Kennedy Muff for coming in and playing so well. It's really funny because when I was watching her, so she's the grad fifth year setter who came in for Alexis Stuckey. And she's actually, this is her first year as a Gator. She transferred from a D2 school as she was at Flagler. I don't know where that is. But the whole time she was playing, I'm like, this girl looks so familiar. Maybe I've seen her play. And then they're like, no, she was a transfer. I was like, this girl looks so familiar. So then I was doing some digging, and I saw that she was from Wisconsin. Not only from Wisconsin, but from Kenosha, which is near my hometown. And she played for Westosha Central. And I was like, that's why I know her. I played her in high school. I was like, that is where I have. And I was like, oh my God, I vividly remember playing her. And I was like, this is crazy. And I'm so impressed with her. I thought she did a really good job. She held her composure as best as she could, playing in an insane gym, playing the number one ranked team, having little to no playing time at Florida, and coming in such a big set. Under a lot of pressure. I thought she did a really good job, and her hitters adjusted well. The hitters adjusted well.
I thought so too. So Alexis went down in the second set. And I I know it was an adjustment for Florida, but I don't think that it was like, ooh, their offense is really going. Like, I didn't feel that way at all. Obviously being thrown in there had to be intimidating. My next point, the Gators set a home attendance record at 10,323 fans. Their previous record was just over like 8,100. So, this was obviously a huge game. Another attendance record broken. So that's intimidating. And especially when Florida came out so hot against Wisconsin. I mean, the first set was insane. They were out hitting, out digging, and out serving Wisconsin, and you just kind of got tossed in there. And the other problem too, and I'm sure a lot of people experience this, is when your teammate, especially a big teammate like that, goes down with an injury like that, it's so it dishevels you a little bit. Like, you're thinking about that, but trying not to. You're trying to stay in the game, trying to stay hyped, trying to cheer, but your teammate is somewhere being carted off with something that's probably going to end their season. So that's a hard thing to get thrown into. She was smiling. She was talking to her hitters. Mary Weiss is a very smart coach, so she was doing a little bit of adjusting.
Yeah.
There were some rotations where the setter was completely out.
Yeah, there was I have that as my note. I was like, there was no setter.
Only Mary would do that. But I agree. I think she came in and she did a very good job for the circumstance. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens now, because I would agree with you. I don't really think we're going to see any more of Alexis Stuckey this year. Which is unfortunate.
It is.
On the flip side, thank God we have Devin Robinson. Just like thank God Wisconsin has Devin Robinson. Marquette really held her, as I mentioned, to a 0.0 hitting percentage. So it's nice to see her do what she does best against a team like Florida. When the serve is in system, Devin can play. Anyway.
I also just want to know, and maybe we're going to get to it, Anna Schmreck is back.
Yeah, thank God, girl. Thank God.
I thought she came alive during Marquette at the end and helped them.
Yeah.
And she had 16 kills. She was the leader for the Badgers. She hit a .343 hitting percentage and had 5 blocks from the right side. And she was coming from the right side in the middle, and they weren't able to stop her.
No,
when she was on, and I was very happy to see her come alive again, because I feel like at times, and sometimes against lower teams, I don't always see a lot from her. But I think when it comes to big games and big matches, she comes alive. And so she's kind of hides in the shadows for the less important games, I guess you could say, but then really shines during the big games, which I wish she would always shine, because if she can throw numbers out like that, then we have no problem. So it was nice to see her really shine, and to see the setters, MJ Hamill and Izzy Ashburn, utilize her, know that she's their big hitter and their big go-to, and they can't stop her right now just because she's huge.
Yeah.
Seeing that they kept feeding her was really, really awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to step in here a little bit. I'm going to defend my girl Anna a little bit, because I just think that MJ and Izzy, who I'm huge fans of, need to do a little better with adjusting to Anna's height.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the times when Anna's hitting out of bounds, or it's kind of doing this like whiff a little almost, it's the ball's too low. She has a humongous like what is this called? Wingspan. She's huge. And I just feel like a lot of times, especially out of the middle, she's hitting so low that she's getting, she's 6'9". Like, ideally, she shouldn't really be getting blocked as much as she has been. So in my personal opinion, and I'm not saying Anna has to be perfect because she's huge and taller than everybody. I just think that the setters, I would like to see just a teeny tiny little bit more adjustment. And that goes for Carter Booth as well. I know they're trying to run it fast in the middle, but Carter Booth has some of the longest arms I've ever seen. And when she's on top of the ball, she's hitting in front of the 10-foot line every single time. Yeah. So I wouldn't say it'd be the worst idea for, maybe Kelly Sheffield and the offense to slow down just a little bit and give the Anna and Carter just a little bit of a higher ball. versus what usually Devin gets, sometimes what Sarah gets. You know, I wouldn't hate to see that just because they are so tall and they can hit around the block. Like easily. So I'd like to see that. I just want to see Anna having more nights like this. And I think that starts with the set and then is up to her to produce.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. For sure.
Okay. So I want to talk about some stats quick, and then I want to give these coaches some recognition. So these stats are so close. It's actually insane. So Wisconsin had 166 attacks. Florida had 167. Wisconsin had 56 kills. Florida had 57. Hitting percentage, Wisconsin hit a .199. Florida hit a .180. Side out percentage, 56.6 for Wisconsin, 58.8 for Florida. Wisconsin had 70 digs. Florida had 75. Both had 8 blocks. These stats are insanely close. Like insane. I don't think they would have been as close if Wisconsin was in system, but this is the way that they came out. I thought that was really interesting how tight knit. And that's expected, a number 1 team, a number 3 team. But even with the loss of Alexis Stuckey, I mean, those stats are insanely close. And then the last thing I want to say before we move on to the last game, if you're still here, thank you. This is lengthy. I want to give Kelly Sheffield and Mary Weiss some recognition. So one thing about Kelly Sheffield that I absolutely love as a fan is he stands the entire game. He does not sit down. He has, and his eye contact and his communication when his players come off the court is huge. It's something that you and I did not have in college. And every time he does it, I get this like warm, fuzzy feeling. Like, how incredible is that? Even if he's giving you maybe what could be conceived as negative feedback because you need to be better. You know, Temmie struggled a little bit to start this game. But every time she came off the court, when she was giving high fives, he kind of stopped her for a second, gave her some direction, made complete eye contact with her, reassured her, and so she could go out and do her job. And with her whole adjustment to this team, him taking that extra effort, which for him, he's probably not even thinking about it, he just does it. It's so fun to see. And his eye contact, his communication, his demeanor, I'm a big fan of that. And Mary Weiss does kind of the same. She sits during the games, which not the end of the world, you know, but every time she came in these timeout huddles, she just looks very encouraging. She's smiling, she's talking. I could see her giving a lot of encouragement to the setter that came in for Alexis Stuckey, and that just to hold the composure in that moment the way she did I was just a round of applause for the two of them. I think more coaches should be like these two for sure.
It's nice and refreshing to see like them just be able to talk to their players. And I think you see that a lot in D1. Like, you're not necessarily seeing coaches screaming at their players on the sidelines. They wait until, you know, they know what they're doing. They can self-correct. They know what they're doing wrong. Sometimes they just need encouragement or a little bit of feedback on how to adjust. And you can do that talking to them respectfully. But I think at other levels, you may not see that, and instead you just get a lot of screaming at, which
or
is
just
not
plain
helpful.
old ignoring.
It's not helpful in any sense.
No.
So it's nice and refreshing to see that they are taking the time to be a coach.
And remembering these girls are so young. I mean, you are dealing with girls from 18 to maybe 20, maybe 24, maybe. I mean, it's so young, and you're in such a mentorship position that you have such a weight on how these girls feel about themselves mentally and physically. And to see these two iconic coaches handle it the way they handled it was just so impressive. And especially with everything that happened with Alexis Stuckey, to see Mary Weiss giving encouragement to the setter that stepped in, giving encouragement to her hitters in a big match, lots of people, very loud, I'm assuming. I was just very impressed. And I think, I mean, we talk about Kelly Sheffield all the time, but I was just so like in awe of it. And I was just very impressed with that. And to me, it's no surprise that these teams are as high up as they are. And I think a lot of it has to do with the coaches.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, last one. Let's get to it. Last night, number 4 Nebraska hosted number 21 Kentucky and came out with a win in 4. Those scores were 25-14, 25-22, 23-25, 25-21. Harper Murray and Merritt Beeson just running this offense. I think it was a great game overall. I watched. I'm not surprised by the outcome, but I thought it was good volleyball. can't think of a lot of things that are more fun than watching the Huskers play at home. Like, it's just electric. And I will say, I was happy to see, not under the circumstance, but happy to see the return of Allie Batenhorst. Let me see. Hold on. Allie Batenhorst, 6'5" junior outside. Yeah. Long blonde hair. You'd know her. Yeah. You know, unfortunate for Lindsay Krause, who was out with a shoulder injury. I was happy to see Allie back. She did great. She had 12 kills, 3 errors on 32 attempts and hit a .281. I thought she did great.
For sure.
But me and Harper Murray and Mara Beeson are just running that court. 17 kills each.
Sorry, keep going.
I had 17 kills each. Harper had 5 errors to Merritt's 3 errors. Harper had 39 attempts. Merritt had 32. Harper hit a .308 with 10 digs. Merritt hit a .438 with 10 digs. And Mara Beeson is a right side, and she's putting up these numbers, which is just absurd.
Yeah.
And she's fantastic.
You can't not, like we talked about spreading the love, you know, setting everyone, but when your outside and right side are, especially right side, consistently hitting close to 20 kills a match, hitting over 300, you have to set them. If you're not, you are messed up in the head. Like,
and Bergen Riley does a great job doing so.
She does. And she still passes the love. I mean, Andy Jackson had, their middle had 10 kills. Becca Alec had 4, but she had 6 blocks. I mean, they're still spreading it, but they're feeding Merritt and Harper when they need to. She's smart when doing it.
And it's so effective for Nebraska because you're spreading the wealth all the way across the net. So you have your 2 huge pin hitters and they're not in the same position. Yeah. That is huge because we've seen with so many of these teams that you have your 2 outsides. No, these 2 girls are in the front row at the same time. So you're tossing it one way, but maybe you're tossing it the other because you don't know which weapon they're choosing to use. And it's just huge. And shout out to Bergen Riley again. We've talked about her a ton, the freshman setter for Nebraska. Just being able to handle the court the way she does and being able to recognize and utilize where these girls are at the court at all times is just huge. So we would be remiss not to mention Reagan Rutherford of Kentucky, the 6-foot senior outside, had 19 kills and only 3 errors. She hit a .372. Next best was Elise Goetzinger. 6'4" senior middle with 14 kills on 4 errors, hitting a .333. Very good. Yeah. I mean, just impressive numbers from Kentucky. Just, it's not going to hold a candle to the weapons that Nebraska has.
No. And Kentucky had 14 service errors. But something I wanted to talk about, because you'll have probably seen it online from this game, was the rally that everyone, you may have been seeing. This was a 72-second rally with 19 total attacks.
No.
Okay.
I would have been dead.
And I don't have the statistic, but an average rally is maybe like 15 seconds. Like, it can be done and over in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
This was 72 seconds long. So over a minute long, just back and forth. I have a screenshot. Let me look at it. Nebraska ended up winning on a cut shot.
Did he call a timeout after? Because I would have.
No, it was a challenge because they had to wait till the play was over. And then, so first, right away, Nebraska won it. But then Kentucky challenged it. In the middle of the play, Lexi Rodriguez had a pancake that they challenged that it was down. And now I'm not remembering. I think they called it down. But on Twitter, there's this guy, his Twitter name is Lincoln Arnell. He's a big fan of Nebraska volleyball, but he had a play-by-play breakdown of the rally. Lasted 72 seconds, 19 total attacks. Harper Murray had 6 attacks and the kill. Delay from Kentucky had 7 attacks. Nebraska stuffed Kentucky 5 times.
Oh my God.
Bozinger and Rodriguez each had 2 diving saves. Wow. Like, it was just ping-ponging. Amazing plays, amazing stuff. you'll probably see it. And if it wasn't labeled as the rally, you probably saw it and just didn't really know what it was.
Yeah.
But it was insane.
Jeez, I would have been gassed.
Yeah.
I would have subbed myself out.
Yeah. So that's just something to mention about it. It was really exciting to watch. They had a few really good rallies during it. So it was competitive, even though Nebraska won in 4.
Yeah.
It was a fun match to watch.
Yeah, the last thing I have to say about this is, I'm putting it on the record now, and I'm standing behind it, is Lexi Rodriguez is the best libero in college volleyball. Like, period. She's the best. There's many good ones. Lexi Rodriguez holds the torch for me.
For sure.
Okay, we're not going to do the start bench segment. We're not going to go crazy in it. We did do it, prepared it. Yes. So I'll just run through what my two were. My starter was 6-foot junior setter for Stanford, Cami Minor. Fantastic. She's putting up kills. She's putting up digs, putting up blocks, huge numbers for assists. She has a .529 attacking average. She's got over 2,800 assists in her career. She's a junior. She's just very calm, cool, collected, and I think she is the key to why Stanford's offense is so successful. So I just want to give her a shout out. I'm starting her. Nice. My bench is Minnesota. I'm over it. I'm not loving it. I really was at the beginning. I was like, they're gonna pull it out. Kylie Murr, Taylor Landfair. I just was, just expecting more, and they're just letting me down. And it doesn't look like the Minnesota we know and love. And I'm just not excited about them. So benching Minnesota until further notice. I don't know when that will be, but benched.
Love it. Okay. My starter is grad setter or 5th-year setter from Florida, Kennedy Muff, just based on her performance. Mm-hmm. I thought she played really well under the circumstances, and I think it will be a little shaky for the little future. But I think she did a really good job, and I think that there is some light at the end of the tunnel with the Alexis Stuckey having an injury. So right now she is my starter. I thought she played great. My bench is Texas.
Ooh.
I'm not impressed.
Ooh, she's not impressed.
No, they're 5-3, have lost to 2 unranked teams, 2 losses at home. Which is their spot. When you come to Texas, you plan to lose. Like, that's just kind of it. And now they're losing.
Talk your shit, Liv. Talk your shit, Liv.
And conference is starting.
Yeah.
The rankings came out. They were number 6. They're now number 9. They're still in the top 10, but I don't know for how much longer. Ooh. Compared to other team stats, they're even. Like, they're not above other teams comparatively. They have 3 blocks per set compared to their opponents' 2.5 blocks per set. They have 12.5 kills per set, and they're hitting 0.238% compared to 0.176%, which is better. But they've also had 79 service errors in 8 matches.
Oh my God.
That's not good.
Oh my God.
They're making a lot of errors, unforced errors, and they need to pick it up.
Yeah, that's tough.
So right now, they're going to sit pretty on the bench until I can see that they prove themselves.
Pretty on the bench. Minnesota, Texas, check yourselves.
Please.
Okay, that wraps up our game recap. Holy moly, that was a lot. So really quick, let's just run through these new rankings that came out this afternoon. Yeah. Wisconsin still sitting up there, number 1. Nebraska breaks number 2. Ooh, I have a hot take. I don't think they deserve to be number 2.
You said it though, not me.
My hot take.
I appreciate it.
Not enough of an off season for me. Obviously their win over Stanford's big, but like, what else did you do?
Exactly.
And I'm not going to sit here and say Wisconsin deserves the number 1 spot either, because I don't know if I do think that. But Nebraska, I'm keeping my eye on you. Florida stays in number 3. I was happy to see that. I think they deserve it. Regardless of what happened with Wisconsin, this makes total sense to me. Mm-hmm. Stanford moves up to number 4. Not surprised. Louisville at number 5. Drops 3 spots.
I'm sad for them because of that.
3 spots.
That's for one loss. For one loss against a ranked team.
In 5.
That seems like, I don't know, someone's pinning against Louisville. And again, we
someone's
know
out for their
that
downfall. Someone's out for their downfall.
we know that they haven't been playing ranked teams all that often, but they've also been like dominating the teams, you know?
Right,
And I don't
but
know.
it goes back to my question, like, is that enough? Are having wins enough?
True. I just don't think moving down 3 spots for one loss
For
on the
Nebraska
record.
to move up 2 with their
Mhm.
offseason and Louisville to go down 3 with their offseason.
Something's fishy. It's a little sus.
Someone's out for Louisville's downfall.
I see it.
Number 6, Oregon. Love it. Up 1. 7, Washington State. Up 4
I
spots.
like that.
Me too. I'm excited to watch this.
Me too.
Watch this team. That upperclassmen shit comes in handy.
Yes.
Pitt stays at number 8.
Mm-hmm.
Not mad about that. Texas number 9. Woo, this is probably the lowest they've been in a long time.
Yeah.
Number 10, BYU. Haven't been able to watch them either, but good for them. Into the number 10. Number 11, Creighton.
Good for them.
Gotta say, obviously, I know they had a huge win over Minnesota, but like, I watched them against Nebraska and it was not good.
No.
Not number 11 good. But you know, I haven't watched them since. So, Minnesota number 12. Oof.
Conference starts. You can't sit down there. You gotta figure it out.
Keep dropping. Number 13, Georgia Tech, down 3 spots. Could have been worse. Texas dropped 5 after their, or what was it, 6 after their loss to Long Beach State.
Oh yeah, they dropped.
But you know, not happy about this. I'm still in Georgia Tech's corner. Number 14, we have Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Number 15, Penn State. We got number 16, Arkansas. Number 17, Kansas. Number 18, Baylor. They stay the same.
Yep.
Number 19, Purdue. Ooh. Tough. Oh, Purdue. Number 20, Houston. Number 21, Ohio State. Barely hanging on.
They're going to be out of the top 25 soon, I think.
They're going to be.
I don't think they can
keep conference, dude.
I don't think that they can keep it.
Rounded out, we got number 22, Kentucky. Number 23, Dayton. Number 24, Auburn. And tied for 25 is Western Kentucky University and Iowa State. Mm-hmm. I like it. I like this ranking.
Yeah.
I think it holds true to what we've seen.
For sure.
Something fishy with the top 5. Not loving it. You predicted it, though, pretty closely.
Yeah.
Correct? I'm not loving it, but I'm going to keep my mouth shut because we've been talking for an hour and a half, so we're not going to get into it. But we'll see what happens to those numbers moving forward. Conference play starts this week.
So exciting.
Starts tomorrow for the Pac-12, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Stanford and California take each other on the Pac-12 network at 9 o'clock Central Time, which is just not happening for me.
I'll be.
But go Stanford. And then the first Big Ten conference match that will be streamed is Rutgers and Penn State.
Yeah.
And later will be Illinois and Indiana. USC and UCLA take each other on the Pac-12 network. That could be a good game to watch as well.
Yep.
What day am I on? Thursday? Oh shoot, I clicked on something. Oh no, I clicked on an ad. Excuse me.
Is that the 22nd?
Yeah, 21st.
21st.
Minnesota and Iowa take each other on at 6 p.m. Central Time on FS1. A lot of games on ESPN Plus. Washington and Washington State take each other on at 9 p.m. Central Time on the Pac-12 network. Arizona and Arizona State on the Pac-12 network AZ, which probably means you have to be local to watch that one.
Mm-hmm.
Friday, Creighton and Butler on Flow Sports. I don't know what that is. ACC Network X has a ton of games on there. If you subscribe there, again, tons and tons on ESPN Plus. Holy moly. SEC Network has South Carolina and Arkansas. Big Ten Network has Michigan State and Michigan at 6. Could be a good one. That's a rivalry game. Ohio State and Nebraska at 8.
Yep.
Oof, that's going to be a smackdown.
Yep.
Oregon State and Oregon at 9 on the Pac-12 network. Then we move into Saturday, the big day.
Yes.
Oh my God, ESPN Plus just racking out these games.
Subscribe.
Holy moly. I'm trying to get to the free ones here. Oh my God, wait. Nothing on Saturday?
No, Saturday, the 23rd. Number 18, Baylor plays number 10, BYU. And then I have number 9, Texas playing Oklahoma. But that was really it that I saw for notable matches on Saturday. But Sunday, the 24th is...
When does Wisconsin not play?
Wisconsin plays Friday, the 22nd.
I'm just scrolling too fast. I'm not good at this. You should take this over. I'm scrolled too fast.
Yeah. I don't know when or where you can see it, but Wisconsin plays on Friday.
Friday. Hold on.
And then they play again on Sunday against Indiana.
They play on the Big Plus. I skipped right over that. I'm terrible at my job. Well, I mean, come on, people. Like, there's you can't see it. There's so much to look at.
Yeah.
Which is great.
But then on Sunday, Florida plays Georgia. Number 12, Minnesota plays number 2, Nebraska. So that'll be interesting to see what Minnesota can do. Number 6, Oregon plays UCLA. Number 15, Penn State plays Northwestern. Number 14, Tennessee plays number 22, Kentucky.
Northwestern has not been doing terrible.
No, they haven't. They had the Big Ten setter.
Player of the week. They had one of them player of the week. One of them.
Yeah. Number 14, Tennessee plays number 22, Kentucky. Number 19, Purdue plays Rutgers. And number 21, Ohio State plays Iowa.
Wow. We have a lot more volleyball to watch.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. For anyone who's still here, power to you.
I'm sure you left after 5 minutes.
This has been the longest episode of Starting Six to date.
Yes.
We had a lot to catch you up on. It was a big week. Not all weeks will be like this, but those were all big games we covered.
And there's a lot of hot takes on it. So you should listen.
That's the title of this episode is Hot Takes. Super hot, steamy hot. There's more to come. We have a lot of opinions about this. A lot of things we don't know about that we have opinions on, which is pretty typical of us. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. Please follow us on social media. Our TikTok does pretty well. Check it out. We post on there during the week when we don't get to film the podcast because we're busy girls. We have other things to do. We got jobs. Jobs.
Kind of lives.
Not me, but good for you, Liv. Just jobs, really, for the most part. Jobs, school, the whole thing. Yeah. But again, thank you guys for watching. Please make sure you're subscribed. We appreciate you all. Longest episode ever. See you next week.
Yes.